Hello and welcome to another episode of Africa Update, reaching you from our studios here in Abuja, Nigeria's capital. And this week on the program, we're taking a look at things, of course, that happen on our continent, but somehow more closely on the western front of the African continent. To stay with us, the program continues. Welcome back to Africa Updates. I'm your host, Chaimaka Nwafor. Now, before the break, I said we're taking a look at issues surrounding the West African region, particularly the countries in the AES, that's the Alliance of Sahel States, Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso. And, mostly Niger. Now, if you recall, earlier in the week, there was an incident in Niger where there was an attack near the Niamey International Airport with the leader of the military, General Abdurrahman Tiani, accusing France, Benin and Cote D'Ivoire of sponsoring the assaults. Now, the Nigerian authorities say the attack targeted strategic infrastructure and fits into what they describe as a broader effort to destabilize the military-led government since the July 2023 coup. While investigations are ongoing, the accusations signal a further deterioration of relations between Niger and its former Western and regional partners. France has actually consistently denied involvement in destabilizing Niger, while Benin and Cote d'Ivoire have also rejected claims of supporting armed groups. However, the incident deepens existing diplomatic fractures across West Africa, especially because, or rather between, Sahel military regimes and coastal ECOWAS states. Now, you already know that these three states withdrew from ECOWAS few years back, and just last year they celebrated their 1 year away from ECOWAS, and by this year, come May or so, they'll be doing another 2 years as the Alliance of Sahel States. Now, that's our first conversation. The second one is over Burkina Faso, where the country actually dissolved its political parties, about 100 of them, and the question is democracy still going to be a theme in Burkina Faso? As the program progresses, we will look into these matters. Now, joining me virtually to further understand the issues in the West African part of our beautiful continent is Senator Iroegbu. He is a geopolitical and security analyst. Good evening.
Good evening, Chaimaka. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Now, thank you for joining us on the program. Now, you've seen the situation in Niger, the whole attack. Now, the military leader in the state is actually pointing fingers at Benin, Cote d'Ivoire, and France. Is there any reason for him to actually believe that these three countries are trying to destabilize his country, Niger?
This junta, because the government is seeking legitimacy. Most times when a government is seeking legitimacy, they always resort to, they have to create an enemy that they will have to create an enemy for the people. So, a form of distraction, and we seem to jointly fight for in order to legitimize their own state. So yes and no, there are reasons and there are no reasons. First, no, because Niger itself is facing internal, Niger, Burkina Faso, Mali, three of them in the global index, terrorism index report, despite the change of government where there are them are junta-led government, and there's growing. Already these countries have security challenges, but sometimes some of the failures that this military encounter, in order to find a way to explain it away for the citizen, they have to create an external enemy. But why France, Ivory Coast, and Benin? It's quite simple. France is their former colonial masters that lost their foothold in the country and in the region. So they are easy target to say, okay, somehow it may be true, it may not be true, but it's still out there for debate that they may likely want to make a comeback. Like this country now shifted from France being their main anchor point of pro-West views to now pro-Russia. So Russia is like their security guarantor, their economic partner, the Russia, the role France was playing before. And there is this belief among the junta that France cannot just easily give up a territory they've had relationship for even a century, right from their colonial days to pre-colonial time. And most of their policies, everything is tied to France. Then secondly, there's a current dispute between France and Niger, French company, not France itself as a country, but French company called Orano and Niger over uranium. So just like what's happening in Venezuela between US and uh, Venezuelan government, whereby by Maduro, they kicked out US oil company. But already there was an existing contractual agreement for those companies to, drill oil and, so they violated it. The same thing is playing out in Niger, whereby this French company already have uranium they were supposed to export it about 1,000 tons. Instead, there was this allegation that this uranium is being planned to be shipped to Russia instead. And this airport that is being attacked is not just only close to the presidential site, it's also housing the headquarters of counter-terrorism headquarters of the three nations, that's the AES nations.
Okay.
Then for Benin and Ivory Coast. So these are two coastal countries that are still West African countries that are still aligned with France and still pro-Western in their outlook, and then still aligned with ECOWAS. And they supported wholeheartedly sanctions against the junta-led AES countries. So Niger may unsubstantiated because if they have evidence, they're yet to see. But what is reality on the ground is that Niger and all these countries are bedeviled by insecurity, terrorism.
Okay.
Jihadist groups that have made some part of this. Are we there?
Yes, we're there. Now you've said some things, and I would like to get into a part of what you just said recently or just a while back, which is about the fact that the place that was attacked was like the hub of security infrastructure for the AES. With this attack now, what would that actually mean for the whole security of that region, for the entire three countries? This attack now on that place.
Okay, I think what it means is that the attack is at the heart of the security infrastructure of not only Niger but Burkina Faso and Mali, because it's not only that it's the headquarters of their counter-terrorism efforts, but it's also housing their drone base. So if and near their presidential quarters. So if that airport is to fall or to be taken over by other opposition forces, it means that it will be like a domino effect. It will also impact not only Niger, but the other AES countries, that's Mali and Burkina Faso. This is not the first time some of those similar attacks. I think similar attack also happened in Bamako, in Mali.
Okay.
But that one was carried by Jenin. That's the Al Qaeda group operating in Mali. But they were quick to admit that they are the one that carried the attack. But up till now, nobody has come out to admit that, no group has come out to admit of the attack. So we are still waiting. Maybe that's why this loophole of allegation that France, Burkina Faso, and that's Ivory Coast and Benin are behind it. But it's still far-fetched because there's no evidence yet to prove. But the significance of it is that there is intelligence gap, that this area, even though it's supposed to be fortified, is vulnerable to attack, and that some of these AES countries still have their weak points security-wise.
Now, what will be the way forward for the AES, especially security-wise, as you said? What's the way forward for them? Would it be advisable to move the security and counterterrorism infrastructure that is at Niger to maybe Mali or Burkina Faso, that so far doesn't seem to, because you've mentioned Bamako has been hit. Now, Niger, are we expecting a hit to take place in Burkina Faso? Is this going to happen in all three countries to show that they're not sound security-wise? Or would it be not the good idea to move that security infrastructure from Niger to Burkina Faso, who so far has not been hit yet?
I think, another thing I didn't add, there's information warfare that is going on in that region. This may be part of it, because accusation of France, Ivory Coast, and the Benin is part of the information warfare. So I may assume, even though you're proving, because everything is still all boils down in the realm of allegation, because this may be part of trying to also create a narrative that the Western government, especially France and their allies in West Africa, are still, at loggerhead with all these countries who, in quote, fighting for their own sovereignty. But this sovereignty is just like you are replacing France with Russia. So we are still yet to see that sovereignty. And recently there was this report that Russia is buying uranium cheaper, almost cheaper from Niger than it is in the international market, meaning that they are getting it for a cheap, and they are the only buyers. It means that not only should these countries beef up their security and know that they have other groups, like all the jihadi group, terrorist groups, that have taken large part of their territory. A large portion of these countries' territories are ungoverned spaces run by violent non-state actors, which they have failed to subdue. So if they can stop focusing too much on propaganda and focus more on strengthening their security and building alliances, and I think in relation with their neighbor, be it Benin, be it Ivory Coast, than antagonizing or creating enemy, because these non-state actors cross this boundary. They don't know, they don't even recognize all these boundaries. So there have to be some form of security and intelligence sharing and collaboration, because no matter the diplomatic differences, at the security level, they need to still have a form of collaboration and cooperation from these other countries. Yes, they can form their alliance of the Sahel states, But that's not enough. Even with the presence of Russia, if there's no cooperation from other countries, their southern neighbors, coastal neighbors, be it Nigeria, be it Benin, be it Ivory Coast, Togo, and other West African countries, it may be difficult for them to, effectively police their borders, and if they carry out a coup against their constitutionally elected governments in various areas. So this issue of trying to have information warfare against other West African countries that seem to be practicing democracy or seem to be more pro-West, or in their own thinking, security does not recognize whether your politics recognizes Russia or France. Insecurity, I mean. So there still has to be some form of intelligence sharing and cooperation and collaboration.
Okay.
Instead of
Okay.
the antagonism, they are
All
going,
right.
with.
All right. So you've mentioned some things about cooperation. So I'm going to go back a bit. This accusation from Niger against Benin and Cote d'Ivoire, who are still members of the ECOWAS, how that impact relationship between the ECOWAS and these Sahel states?
So already there's a fractured relationship, having these countries having pulled out from ECOWAS, who they accuse of being lackeys of the West. This may further polarize, the position, because ECOWAS is still having this anticipation, still see these countries as brothers. Yes, there may be change of government, they may be run by juntas, but the people of these states are still West African brothers. Tomorrow there may be a change of government, there may be democratically elected government who may decide to say they want the relationship back. But for now, this affected a lot of things. So for ECOWAS, the impact is already felt in terms of geography. All these three countries combined is almost half of the geography of the ECOWAS region. So geographically, is almost half of. And then in terms of, though in population, they are not that too significant in that way. But
Okay.
also strategically, geopolitically, it means that West Africa through the Sahel has been turned into geopolitical chessboard or rival, where all the rival powers is like a rival, a field that's open for play for all these powers. So you see Russia that is ejected, France and other Western powers. Likely all these powers may also want to fight back in their own way, because not only the Russia are coming, they also coming with their own anti-Western propaganda and all this. And
Okay.
all these countries also may be making efforts to also counter those narratives.
All right.
So, and these are also impacting West Africa, because
All right.
there's already trade route, economic cooperation that is going on. And if these countries are overrun by jihadists, that means all other West African countries to also be threatened.
All right,
So these
Senator.
are some of things. That's why ECOWAS cannot completely, and they have not closed it or shut it off.
Okay.
So that's why I still advocate there still have to be a form of cooperation and collaboration, even though they continue to work out how to, reset their diplomatic
All right.
differences
All
or
right.
challenges.
We're going to go on a short break. And when we return, the conversation continues on Africa Update. Please to stay with us. Welcome back to Africa Update. We've been with Senator Iroegbu, who's been talking to us on the situation in the AES, most especially the attack on Niger and its impact on the AES and by extension, equally the ECOWAS. Now we're moving away from the Niger attack, but still in the AES. We're going to Burkina Faso, where the junta, the military leader, Ibrahim Traoré, has dissolved 100 political parties. Now, marking one of the most sweeping political clampdowns since the junta seized power. Authorities say the move is part of a broader political reorganization aimed at restoring order, improving governance and prioritizing national security and persistent jihadist violence. Officials argue many parties were inactive, non-compliant with legal requirements or contributing to political fragmentation. Critics, however, warn that the mass dissolution further shrinks civic space, weakens democratic pluralism and entrenches military rule. Burkina Faso has already suspended elections and extended the transition timeline, citing security challenges. The development aligns with a wider trend across the Sahel, where military governments in Mali, Niger and Burkina Faso have curtailed political activity, sidelined traditional democratic institutions, and repositioned governance around security-first agendas. Now, of course, the international partners and groups are watching closely to see what is going to happen. Back to you, Senator. We're seeing this is happening in Burkina Faso, and of course, staying with the fears of some of the critics there, what does this portend for the democracy in Burkina Faso? Is there a possibility that it's going to return and return soon, or is this the beginning of the end of democracy in Burkina Faso?
Body language of Burkina Faso with their AES alliance partners, they have shown some kind of disdain for democracy as we see it. And they keep on eroding all institutions as time goes on. People are expecting that by now there should have been effort to, try and put on some structures that will ease them out of power to bring democracy back. But from all indication, what they are putting in place more and more is how to consolidate themselves in power. So, and this goes on to also heighten that fear that they are not in any way shifting ground. They are not in any way trying to compromise their hardened stand or tendency to go autocratic. And you can see that most of the efforts they are doing, they've invested a lot of effort in information warfare and try to, boost their image and situate themselves like the savior of the people and who a kind of pseudo Pan-Africanist. But the bottom line is that you have to test your popularity. You are not elected, and until there is election, we cannot know whether what your mandate is on behalf of the people, because you took power through the barrel of God.
Yeah.
So, and now most of these actions further leads these countries further back into dictatorial situation. So it doesn't help, and it's like they are not pretending about it. And when you look at the governance structure of their new guarantors, security and economic guarantors by Russia, you've seen their system of governance. It doesn't really align completely with liberal democracy. It doesn't mean that it's bad in itself, but the juntas have yet to let the people know the kind of government they want to run. Are they going to continue with the military government? Are they going to allow the civilians? At least Russia still have, even though it's a form of autocracy, but it still have civilian led government. So this crackdown on, there have been a lot of reports about crackdown on free speech, crackdown on civil rights movement, and the civil space keep on shrinking further with this action.
All right. Now, away from just Burkina Faso, looking at the AES as a whole, are we looking and are we seeing, because it seems like it's a thing happening, use security as an excuse as to extend the stay, or we're doing this, we're going to have to do this because this is happening, we have to stay longer. And as you said, they're trying to solidify their base and not making any move towards going back to the proper democracy, real civil liberties. Is this what we should expect? And how long do you think that this might last in the AES? And also, do you think that the people in these countries, the citizens of these countries, are actually as you say, how would we know if the people like what you're doing if you don't go to the polls? But do you think the people in Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger are willing to go on a long haul with the juntas? And on that note, we'll wrap up.
For now, enjoying these juntas leaders are enjoying the. And this honeymoon phase is fueled by already existing discontent the people and the disdain the people have against their political elites, and the anger also extended to their former colonial masters, France. So, using under the cover of this discontent, these juntas struck and changed government. And since then, they've been using all manner of strategy to sustain this kind of feeling. But a time will come, the people will start asking questions. Okay, we've had enough of this. We have enough of these blame games. Yes, it's the external enemies. Yes, it's the West. Yes, it's this. But okay, how have our life, have we improved? Yes, the longer they stay, the more this honeymoon will keep on eroding.
Okay, all right.
So if they don't put on structures and change, and from their body language, I'm not sure.
We need to go.
So, and when you make peaceful change difficult, the violent change becomes inevitable.
Thank you so much,
one
Senator.
of the consequences of cracking,
thank you so much.
Crackdown on shrinking civil space.
All right. Thank you so much, Senator Iroegbu. Unfortunately, we have to end it at this time and wrap up the program. And that's talking about the situation in the AES. I've been your host this week, Chaimaka Nwafor. Same time, same place. Bye for now.